Good morning. This Devar Torah is being given on Tainus Esther, the morning before Pasha Zachor, of which we will speak in this Devar Torah. I wanted to recall a story I heard of a certain young man, and he was becoming more religious, and he was talking to the local Rav and was asking him about all the different things that were being done in shul and what they were being done for. And the Rav kept explaining to him, well, it helps us recall things. So the young man asked the Rav, he says, what are the tzitzis for on the bottom of the garments? And the Rav says, oh, it helps us recall the mitzvos. Then the young man asked another time, what is the covers and the pieces of tape that are on the light switches in the houses on Shabbos? The Rav says, that helps us remember not to turn the switches on and off on Shabbos because we can't do malacha on Shabbos. And then he says to the rabbi, there's sometimes when the Rav takes their watch off and puts it on top of the lectern, as haste stender. And he asked the Rav, what does it mean when the Rav puts the watch down on the stender? And the Rav says, it doesn't actually mean anything. But there's a lot of things that we do in our lives to recall certain things, to remember them. And those things that we remember, there's a Ramban who says that things that are to be remembered are also to be verbalized and spoken out loud. And interestingly enough, one of the issues surrounding Megillas Esther is whether or not it should have even been written and then made into a separate holiday. The Gemara in Megillah 7a, it says that this was an argument between the Anshe Knesset Gedola and Esther Hamalka herself. And we saw that they refer to the section of Amalek at the end of Parshas Beshalach and not the one in Parshas Kitzese by saying, Tzovet Zichron Ze B'Sefer, write this. However, most other types of remembrances have to be verbalized. So the other verbalized ones are remembering the Yetzias Mitzrayim, the exodus from Egypt, and also recalling Har Sinai, Maimed Har Sinai, the moment where we stood and received the Torah. Again, Amalek is one of those things that are mentioned. There's also the Egel Azav, the golden calf, and their whole rebellion. And then the Tzuras of Miriam's punishment as a result of eliciting evil speech against Moshe Rabbeinu. And finally, we have Shabbos, the Sabbath day itself. All these days, we mentioned a zechira by them. They have to have some type of recollection. And the Ramban says that the explicit mention of these things for their recollection is to be verbalized. He talks about that in Parshas Kitzese. And he says this in order for us to help recall that it's not just enough to have a mitzvah to do these things. Something has to be done for them to be recalled. And he makes a distinction between the mitzvah of doing something explicitly in the Torah as opposed to something being a zikaron in the Torah. The difference is, if one does the mitzvah is the pa'ula of the mitzvah, the motion of completing it is what lodges that mitzvah in our hearts and allows us to remember it. It impacts us and affects us. And this sentiment is even echoed by the author of the Sefer HaChinuch in his introduction, that the mitzvahs, and he repeats it several times about other mitzvahs, that the mitzvahs draw us closer to better behaviors and better performance as a result of doing them. But when something is a zikaron or a zeicher, when it's just when we're just told to recall them, then there has to be some type of verbal recollection, the Ramban says, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to engage this thought in our hearts. And Baruch Hashem, I know for me that leaving a watch on my stender means that I'm going to stay inside the guidelines for the time requirements. Galtiv.